Hi, this is James from Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today we're going to look at the 2 to 5 player game Whirling Witchcraft, published by AEG Games. In Whirling Witchcraft, you're playing as a witch, working and brewing your magic and trying to sabotage your fellow students. So let's go ahead down to the table here. I'll give you a general overview of how the game plays, and then we're going to come back and I'll give you my final thoughts. Okay, so this is what a typical setup of Whirling Witchcraft might look like. A couple things to keep in mind during setup. Each player is going to get their own little cauldron. Each player is going to get their own little arcana chart here. Each player is going to get their own workbench. Each player is then going to get their own persona. Now, if you're new to the game, you get the starting personas. And these starting personas just all have the same abilities. And on the other side here, this is the list of starting ingredients. After you become a experienced player, you can use the various other personas here. What you do with these, so you'll shuffle them up and you'll hand out each player 2, and they pick one. And that's the persona they have, and on the other side is the starting ingredients. Now with these personas, like I said, they actually all have abilities that you get when you're playing the game. This one here, before choosing a recipe, discard this card to discard your hand and draw 4 new cards. So every player starting out is going to get that ability. You'll also get one of each of the arcana tokens, and you will, with those starting resources, place those out on your board. Now, each player will also start with 4 cards, and they'll look at them themselves. And the goal of this game is going to be to fill up one of the ingredient rows on another player to get ingredients placed in your little circle here. Once 5 ingredients have been placed in someone's circle, the game ends, and the person with the most, the person that put the 5th ingredient wins. We're going to go over like ties and stuff in a minute. All right, so let's go over some basic rules for the game itself and how to play it. So on your turn, you're going to go through and you're going to pick one of these recipes. So let's go over what a couple of them do. Basically what the idea of these are, and here's a different one here, is you're going to have these little ingredients, and they match with the colors of the cubes here, and you're going to need these ingredients to produce these ingredients. All right, so whatever you produce here, you're going to put on your cauldron, and we'll show you why that's important in a second. So you're going to pick one of these. Now, to mention, some of these have these little squiggle lines. That means that you can use either this side to produce, and this is the output, or you could flip it and use this side to produce, and this is the output. Either way, you're going to pick your starting card. Doesn't matter if you can actually play it or not. You're going to put it here. You'll put it face down, and then everyone simultaneously reveals it. Once you've done that, you're going to resolve any arcana. Now, some of these cards, almost all these cards, have little pictures on top, and these little pictures refer to these arcana tokens. Now, whenever you resolve arcana, you're going to take whichever one is, in this case a crow, and you place it on there. Odd numbers do absolutely nothing, but when you go to an even number, you're going to trigger a arcana effect, and each of them do something different. Like this raven right here, what it'll do is the player may remove 2 ingredients from their workbench. This is your workbench. The ingredients may be the same or different types. That's what the crow does. Now, if you hit 2, or an even number, with the cauldron, that player may add 1 ingredient of any type from the general supply directly into their cauldron. All right, and put it in here. So that's important in a second. The last one, which is going to be like the spell book or whatever it is, you're going to choose a type of ingredient for this round, and basically that ingredient is a freebie for you, and it fills your stuff. So it's really powerful and really nice. Once you finish that, then you're going to go into production of ingredients. So what you're going to do is you're going to then, we'll do a little example right here. For this case, I'm going to need 2 of the blue, which is the spiders, and 1 white. So I'll take 1 white, which I think is mandrake, and 2 blue. Put those on my chart. Now once everyone's done that, now if it ends up being important for someone to know what someone else is going to do with their ingredients, the player with the lowest, oops, can't see it, lowest number on here has to go first. So if that ever comes into an issue, that's how that gets resolved. Then I'll take a green, a black, and a red, because that's what shows as my output. And those will go in my cauldron. And these will go into back into the supply. Now I'll just randomly put some stuff on this. Okay, this is an example. Then I'm going to pass my cauldron to the next player. And I'm going to pass my hand of 3 cards that they didn't get to see to the next player. So it's sort of like a drafting thing even too that's built into the game. And I'll get the 3 cards from them, and I'll get their cauldron. And I'll place the cubes from their cauldron onto my workbench. Now, as you notice, I can't place this additional green cube because mine are all filled up. This green cube gets given back to that player and goes into their circle. That is how you win the game. You're basically trying to overload ingredients on your neighbor. And again, once you hit 5, the game ends. So after all the cauldrons have been passed, and after you get all the ingredients and you got your cards passed, you're going to draw up to your 4, so draw a card. Then you're going to repeat. Now, one card type here that is interesting that I just pulled is if you ever see this dotted line on here in 2 different colors, you can pick which ingredient you want to use to fulfill that. So I could use a blue or a green, and I can get a blue or a red. So I look at my opponent and see what I need to do with that. All right, so after each round, you're going to check for winners. Now, like I said, if you have 5 ingredients, so if I have 5 in here, you win. Now, if you have simultaneous winners, the player with the most ingredients in their which circle wins. So if I have over 5, I would win, and I have more than another player. If that's not the case, players with most different type of ingredients in here will win. If that's still a tie, the tied player with the least number of ingredients on their workbench is the winner. If it's still a tie, they share the victory. So that's how you're going to play Whirling Witchcraft. Let's go ahead back up to the table here, and I'll give you my final thoughts. Okay, so I like Whirling Witchcraft. I really like the drafting element of the game, where you're going to be picking one of the ingredient cards, you're going to put them down, you're going to pass them over, you drop another one. So it's nice that you also have the option of a random card being in there too. I really like the little logic puzzle of figuring out what you need to use as ingredients to basically reduce the number of ingredients on your board, but what you need to produce to overload your opponent. I really like that in this game, and I like the fact that you're just looking to the right each time, but you have to pay attention to your opponent on the left, because your opponent on the left is going to try to overload you. So you're trying to figure out, like, what are they going to send to me? So I'm looking at my cards and like, this is going to be what I want to do, because they're going to try to overload my frogs or whatnot. And you'll flip that and you'll start using frogs as ingredients as an example. But the nice thing about this game is how fast it plays, how fun it is to move that cauldron around and give them the ingredients and stuff, but how easy the game is to teach. So this game is great for people coming into the hobby, or just take this game to play with friends and family that may not really be into playing board games as much. They'll have a ton of fun with this, especially with Halloween coming up. This is a great game to play during your Halloween party or whatnot. So I do highly recommend Whirling Witchcraft if you're looking for a fun, light, family weight game. That's my thoughts on it. Thank you for watching.